I now deeply regret clicking on that pop-up ad. The headline read something like, "Experience a different life. Transform with one click, no side effects." I had just finished arguing with that bastard Jiang Chun, full of anger with nowhere to vent, and my hand slipped and clicked on it. And now, I've gone from a 185 centimeters muscular man to a curvaceous female succubus. To make matters worse, my nemesis, that dog Jiang Chun, has been looking at me more and more strangely. It all started 3 days ago. My name is Lin Hao, and Jiang Chun and I have been mortal enemies since we were in diapers. He comes from a good family, is handsome, and gets good grades, a typical Mr. Perfect. As for me, besides my talent for opposing him, I seem to be good for nothing. Ever since we were kids, whether it was exam rankings or the sports day podium, we were always next to each other. He was first, and I was second. Even in gaming, if he chose the alliance, I would inevitably choose the horde. We were irreconcilable. That afternoon, the results of the company's quarterly assessment came out. He was number 1 in the department again, and I was second by a margin of half a point. After the meeting, I cornered him in the stairwell and couldn't stop myself from cursing, "Damn it, Jiang Chun. Did you peek at my report?" He raised an eyebrow, leisurely adjusting his cuffs. "Lin Hao, is it that hard to admit that someone is better than you?" "Bullshit." I shoved him. "You must have pulled some trick." He didn't fight back. His eyes just turned cold. "Childish." With that, he left, leaving me trembling with rage. Back home, I was still fuming and turned on my computer, hoping to cool down with some games. Just as I logged into my account, an ad popped up in the bottom right corner of the screen. It had a pink background with a drawing of a sexy woman whose face was unclear, and the text read, "Is life too stressful? Want to live differently? Click here to claim your brand new life." I was about to close it, but my hand slipped and I clicked on it. A questionnaire popped up asking what gender I wanted to become and if there was a particular identity I wanted to experience. In a moment of heat, thinking of Jiang Chen's punchable face, a defiant thought crossed my mind. So what if I become a woman? I might even be more popular than him. As for the identity, I glanced at the options, saw the word succubus, thought it sounded intimidating, and clicked confirm. After submitting the questionnaire, a message popped up. "Transformation in progress. Please wait." I thought it was a virus, cursed, and forced shutdown. When I woke up the next morning, my whole body felt wrong. First, the quilt felt heavier, crushing me to the point of breathlessness. Then my chest felt like it was stuffed with 2 hot water bottles, heavy and sinking. Sleepily, I reached out a hand to touch and was met with softness. What the fuck? I was instantly awake and bolted upright. I looked down and almost fainted from shock. What were these 2 mounds of flesh on my chest? Looking further down, my pants were hanging loose, and the sensation inside was even more foreign and bizarre. I scrambled to the mirror. The person in the mirror had fair skin, delicate features, naturally pink lips, and a cascade of long, black hair over their shoulders. The most important part was the figure, a slender waist, perky hips, and long, straight legs. It was the kind of sexy body I had only ever seen in comics. Only the eyes, wide with terror, held a trace of my former self. This isn't me. I raised a hand to touch my face, and the person in the mirror mimicked the action. The touch was real. The warmth was real. I rushed in the bathroom, stripped off my pajamas, and completely broke down. I had actually turned into a woman, and one with a ridiculously good figure. It was only then that I remembered the pop-up ad from yesterday, and my guts turned green with regret. I quickly turned on my computer, trying to find that website, but I couldn't find it anywhere. It wasn't in my history or my bookmarks, as if the whole thing had just been a dream. For the next 2 days, I locked myself in my house, trying to accept this reality. At first, I held on to a sliver of wishful thinking that maybe this was temporary, that I would change back in a couple of days. As a result, when I woke up on the morning of the 3rd day, I was still like this, and my body seemed to be undergoing some subtle changes. For example, I found that I seemed to get hungry very easily, especially for meat and sweets, with an inexplicable craving. Also, as long as I had the slightest mood swing, my body would emit a faint fragrance. That day, I tried to watch a horror movie and screamed in fright, and as a result, The whole room was filled with a sweet fragrance like milk candy. I searched online for legends about succubi, and the more I read, the more frightened I became. According to the legends, succubi live by sucking the essence of men and use their beauty to seduce them. Do I have to live on this in the future? Just as I was staring blankly at the computer screen, the doorbell rang. I jumped in fright. Who would come at this time? Who is it? I subconsciously shouted, and when the sound came out, I was stunned myself. It was a soft and slightly hoarse female voice, completely different from my previous loud voice. A familiar voice came from outside the door, with a hint of impatience. Lin Hao, open the door, I know you're home. It's Jiang Chen, what is he here for? I was so scared that I quickly covered my mouth, my heart pounding. If he saw me like this now, he would definitely laugh to death. I'm not home. I did my best to imitate my old voice, but what came out was still a delicate, feminine sound. Outside the door, Jiang Chen was silent for a few seconds, followed by his low chuckle. Lin Hao, when did your voice change? You do a pretty convincing girl's voice. Get lost. I yelled in frustration, but my voice still lacked any force. Stop fooling around and open the door. I left something at your place. Jiang Chen's tone grew a little more serious. Only then did I remember that during our argument the day before yesterday, he seemed to have dropped his fountain pen in the stairwell. I had picked it up in a huff, planning to throw it in his face the next time we met, but then I forgot all about it. The pen was now sitting on a coffee table in my living room. I agonized for a long while, unable to think of a way to make him leave. With Jiang Chen's temper, once he set his mind on something, he wouldn't stop until he got his way. I gritted my teeth, thinking I could just pretend to be Lin Hao's distant cousin, here to drop something off for him. I quickly rummaged through my closet, pulled out the loosest t-shirt and jeans I had, and put them on. I then found a hat, tucked my long hair inside, and tried my best to look a bit more androgynous. Taking a deep breath, I opened the door. Jiang Chen was standing at the entrance, dressed in a well-tailored suit and carrying a briefcase in his hand. It seemed he had just come from his company. When he saw me, he was obviously stunned for a moment. His eyes scanned my body, finally resting on my face with a hint of inquiry. You are? I am Lin Hao's cousin. He is not feeling well today and asked me to return something to you. I lower my head, try my best to make my voice sound calm, while praying in my heart that he would not recognize me. Jiang Chen said nothing, his gaze shifting from my hat to my chest, and then sweeping downwards. I felt uncomfortable all over from his stare, feeling as though my disguise was about to be torn apart. What's wrong with him? Jiang Chen asked, his tone devoid of emotion. Just a cold with a slight fever. I randomly made up a reason. Is that so? Jiang Chen raised an eyebrow and took a step forward. He was so close to me that the faint scent of cedarwood, the cologne he always used, drifted over. I used to think this scent was just like him, exuding an air of pretentiousness. But smelling it now, my heart inexplicably started to panic. And I don't know if it was my imagination, but I felt that sweet fragrance starting to emanate from my body again. Where's his pen? Jiang Chen's gaze fell on my hand. Only then did I remember the important matter and quickly turned to get the pen from the living room. As I turned, my hat accidentally fell off, and my long hair cascaded down. My heart skipped a beat. Just as I was about to bend down to pick up the hat, my wrist was suddenly grabbed. Jiang Chen's hand was very hot, and his grip was strong, hurting me a little. Lin Hao, his voice was deep, with a sense of certainty. This game you're playing is quite interesting. I abruptly raised my head and met his eyes. His gaze was very deep, as if it could see through everything about me. What nonsense are you talking about? I struggled to shake off his hand, but my cheeks began to burn uncontrollably. Stop pretending. Jiang Chen stared into my eyes, a playful smile tugging at the corner of his lips. Even if you turned into a woman, I'd still recognize these eyes. I completely panicked, my mind a blank slate. How could he have recognized me? Just because of my eyes? You let me go. I was on the verge of tears, my voice tinged with a sob. With this cry, the sweet scent on my body grew stronger. Jiang Chen's eyes darkened, his Adam's apple bobbed, and instead of loosening his grip on my wrist, he tightened it. Did your courage shrink so much after becoming a woman? He moved closer, his breath spraying by my ear. Or is it that you just like it this way? His words made my whole body stiffen, and a strange heat surged up from the bottom of my heart. Only then did I remember the legends of the succubus. Could this be a succubus's instinct? To have this kind of reaction to Jiang Chun? Impossible. Absolutely impossible. I am Lin Hao, his sworn enemy for over 20 years. Jiang Chun, you pervert. Let go of me. I used all my strength to push him away, picked up the hat from the floor, jammed it on my head, and turned to slam the door. But Jiang Chun blocked the door with his hand, the smile on his face deepening. Lin Hao, or should I call you Miss Succubus? His gaze roamed over my body without restraint, as if admiring a rare toy. You can't run away. In the end, I still couldn't keep Jiang Chun outside. He stuck to my doorway like a piece of dogskin plaster, refusing to leave, insisting he had to come in and take a look at my life in this new identity. I was so angry I wanted to hit him with a broom, but the thought of my current small frame, I'd probably be taken down before I could even touch him, forced me to swallow my frustration and let him in. Jiang Chun walked into the living room, glanced around, his eyes lingering for a few seconds on the men's clothes I had thrown on the sofa, the smile at the corner of his mouth growing wider. It seems you haven't fully adapted to your new identity. None of your damn business. I glared at him irritably, instinctively pulling my hat down further, trying to cover most of my face. Don't cover it. Jiang Chun walked over, reaching to take off my hat. It's a pity to hide such a pretty face. I dodged back, not letting him touch me. What the hell do you want? I watched him warily. So what if you recognized me? If you want to laugh at me, then hurry up and laugh. After you're done laughing, get out. Jiang Chun, however, sat down on the sofa next to me and, quite naturally, picked up an apple from the coffee table and began to peel it with the fruit knife I usually used. I don't want to laugh at you. He peeled the apple, his tone calm. I just think. It's quite new. New, my foot. My anger flared up. Jiang Chun, if you dare to tell anyone about this, I'm not finished with you. Oh, Jiang Chun looked up at me, a hint of amusement in his eyes. In your current state, what can you do to me? I was choked speechless by his words. Indeed, I was now as weak as a kitten. Forget about fighting him. He could probably push me over with a single finger. Thinking of this, I felt even more aggrieved, and my eyes reddened slightly. Seeing me like this, Jiang Chun's apple-peeling paused for a moment, and a complex emotion flickered in his eyes. All right, I'll stop teasing you. He handed the peeled apple to me. I won't tell anyone about this. I didn't take it, turning my head away to avoid looking at him. He didn't get angry either. He placed the apple on the coffee table in front of me and picked up another one to peel. How on earth did you end up like this? He asked, his tone sounding like genuine curiosity. I hesitated for a moment before telling him about the pop-up ad. Of course, I omitted the part about clicking on it because I was angry with him. After listening, Jiang Chun frowned thoughtfully. Something like that exists. He seemed skeptical. Have you tried to find that website again? I have, but I can't find it. I sighed. I've probably run into something unclean. Maybe it's temporary, Jiang Chun said. Let's wait and see. I also hoped it was temporary, but I had a bad feeling in my heart, especially the changes in my body over the past 2 days, which were becoming more and more obvious. Jiang Chun stayed at my house for almost an hour before leaving. Before he left, he saved my phone number in his phone and threatened that if I didn't answer his calls, he would come and block my door every day. I was so angry I wanted to throw the pen he had just returned to his face, but I held back. After all, when you're under someone else's roof, you have to bow your head. After he left, I collapsed on the sofa, feeling weak all over. I don't know if it was because I spent too much time with Jiang Chun, but I always felt a little strange, a little flustered, and a little inexplicably hot. I picked up the apple he peeled and took a bite. It was sweet. In the past, when we ate apples together, he would always snatch the biggest and sweetest one. I never thought he would peel an apple for me now. This feeling was quite strange. For the next few days, Jiang Chun really didn't bother me again. He would just send me a few messages every night, asking if I had changed back and if I had encountered any trouble. At first, I couldn't be bothered to reply to him, but later he sent them more frequently, and I would occasionally reply with a sentence or two. Until that Friday, I ran into a big problem. That day, I ran out of food at home and had to go to the supermarket to buy groceries. In order not to attract attention, I deliberately wore a loose hoodie, a mask, and a hat, wrapping myself up tightly. As a result, when I was checking out at the supermarket, the man in line in front of me suddenly turned around and stared at me. That look made my hair stand on end. Little sister, are you alone? The man smiled maliciously. How about Big Brother treats you to dinner? I quickly lowered my head and said, no, thank you. My voice as small as a mosquito's hum. Don't be shy. The man didn't give up and leaned closer, a disgusting smell of sweat wafting over. You're dressed too warmly. Take off your mask and let Big Brother have a look. As he spoke, he actually reached out to take off my mask. I was so scared that I took a step back and bumped into the shopping cart behind me. What are you doing? I shouted anxiously, my voice changing a little due to fear. Everyone around looked over, but the man didn't care at all and became even more arrogant. Oh, your voice is quite sweet. Big Brother likes it even more. Just when I was at a loss and about to cry, a hand suddenly grabbed the man's wrist. She told you to let go. A familiar voice tinged with a cold anger. I looked up and was shocked to see it was Jiang Chun. I don't know when he arrived, but he was standing right beside me, glaring at the man with a dark expression. Jiang Chun was a good half a head taller than the man and had a more imposing figure. Just standing there, he exuded an air of pressure. The man was clearly stunned for a moment, then said defiantly, "Who are you? This is none of your business." "I'm her friend." Jiang Chen's tone was still icy, but the force in his hand increased. The man hissed in pain, his face changing color. "Let go! Let go!" Jiang Chun ignored him, only releasing his grip when the man was about to scream in pain. Scram! Jiang Chun spat out the single word coldly. The man clutched his wrist, shot Jiang Chun a vicious glare, glanced at me, but ultimately didn't dare to say anything more and scurried away. Seeing the commotion was over, the surrounding people also looked away. Only then did I breathe a sigh of relief, my legs going weak as I nearly collapsed. Jiang Chun quickly steadied me. "Are you okay?" he asked, a hint of barely perceptible concern in his voice. I shook my head, took off my mask, and gasped for air. "What are you doing here?" "Just passing by. I saw you seemed to be in trouble." Jiang Chen's gaze fell on my face, lingered for a few seconds, then shifted away. "Don't come out alone next time. It's too dangerous." I didn't say anything, my feelings a bit complicated. I never expected that Jiang Chun would be the one to save me in the end. This feeling was truly strange. Jiang Chun paid for my things with me and walked me home. We didn't say much on the way. When we got to my door, I took out my key to open it and said, "Thank you." "You're welcome." Jiang Chun looked at me. "It's really not safe for you to live here alone, especially with things as they're now." I knew he was telling the truth, but I couldn't just go with him. "I'll be careful." "How about?" Jiang Chun hesitated for a moment. "You move into my place for a while. I have a spare room." I froze, thinking I must have misheard. "What did you say?" I said, "You should move into my place," Jiang Chun repeated, his expression serious. "At least until you change back. Someone will be there to look out for you." I shook my head without a second thought. "No way. I'm not living with you." Living with him? Wouldn't that be like a lamb entering a tiger's den? Who knew if he'd do something weird to me while I was sleeping? Even though he saved me today, he's still Jiang Chun, my mortal enemy. "I'm not going to eat you," Jiang Chun said, as if he had read my mind. "Who knows what you're up to?" I retorted, craning my neck, but my cheeks couldn't help but burn. Jiang Chun let out a low laugh and didn't press me further, just saying, "I've made a spare key for your place. It's in the fire hydrant box by your door." "You." I was furious. How could this dog have a key made to my place without my permission? "Don't look at me like that," Jiang Chun said, raising his hands in surrender. "It's just in case. I won't come in whenever I want." With that, he turned and left, leaving me stamping my feet in anger at the doorway. I went back inside and, threw all the things he had given me onto the sofa, my mind a mess. Move into his place? Not a chance. But when I thought about what happened at the supermarket today, I felt a little scared again. What if I run into someone like that again? With my current small frame, I can't fight back at all. Just as I was struggling with this, my phone rang. It was a message from Jiang Chun. "Get some rest. Don't overthink it. Call me anytime if you need anything." I stared at the message for a long time, but in the end, I didn't reply. The days passed, and I completely accepted the fact that I couldn't change back. The changes in my body were also becoming more and more obvious. That sweet scent had almost become my natural body odor. I could smell it with just the slightest movement, and I discovered that this scent seemed to be particularly attractive to men. When I went downstairs to get a package, the delivery guy's eyes were glued to me, and he almost filled out the delivery slip incorrectly. It scared me so much that I rushed back home and didn't dare to go out casually anymore. Jiangshun somehow found out that I was afraid to go out and ordered takeout for me every night, with a special note to make it light. At first, I was too embarrassed to eat it, but later I was so hungry that I had to shamelessly accept it. He was quite considerate, always saying he ordered it, by the way, as if he was afraid I would feel like I owed him something. That night, I was curled up on the sofa watching a movie when I suddenly felt a flush of heat all over my body. The feeling was different than before, like countless tiny insects were crawling on me. It was agonizing. I rummaged through everything for a long time, turned the air conditioner down low, and drank several bottles of ice water, which only brought a little relief. But before long, the feeling returned, even stronger than before. I even felt dizzy, and all I wanted was someone to hold. Just then, the doorbell rang. I dazedly went to open the door and saw Jiang Chun standing at the entrance, a thermal container in his hand. "What are you doing here?" My voice was soft and thick with a nasal tone. Jiang Chen's gaze swept over my face, and his brow furrowed instantly. "What's wrong with you? Why is your face so red?" He reached out to feel my forehead, but I instinctively dodged him. "I'm fine." But as soon as the words left my mouth, my legs went weak, and I almost fell. Jiang Chen quickly grabbed me, his hand met with scorching heat. "Still say you're fine? You're burning up like this." There was a hint of reprimand in his tone. "Are you not feeling well somewhere?" I shook my head, biting my lip, unable to speak. The sweltering sensation grew stronger, and I couldn't help but lean against Jiang Chen. The scent of cedar on him seemed to make me feel a little better. Jiang Chen's body obviously stiffened, and the hand supporting me also tightened. "Lin Hao." His voice was a bit hoarse. I lifted my head, my gaze hazy as I looked at him. I don't know if it was my imagination, but I felt like the look in his eyes had changed. Before, it had always carried a hint of teasing and exploration, but it had never been like this, as if he wanted to devour me. You smell so good." Jiang Chen's gaze fell on my neck, his atoms apple-bobbing. It was only then that I realized the sweet fragrance on my body seemed several times stronger than usual, and as I drew closer to him, the scent seemed to intensify. Jiang Chen's breathing grew a little ragged, and the hand holding me began to burn. I don't feel well." I subconsciously grabbed his arm, my voice tinged with a sense of grievance. Jiang Chen's body trembled, and he suddenly pushed me slightly away. "You go inside and sit down. I'll get you some water," he said, then turned and rushed into the kitchen. I stood frozen in place, touching my burning cheeks, my heart fluttering with panic. What had just happened to me? Did I actually want to lean into Jiang Chen's embrace? And the way he looked at me? I shook my head, not daring to dwell on it any further. Jiang Chen soon emerged with a glass of water and a damp towel. He pressed the towel against my forehead and handed me the glass. "Have some water." As I took the glass, my fingers accidentally brushed against his hand, and we both pulled back as if startled by an electric shock. The atmosphere instantly turned awkward. I kept my head down, taking small sips of water, not daring to look at him. Jiang Chen remained silent, sitting on the sofa beside me, his gaze fixed on the glass in my hand, lost in thought. After a while, he suddenly spoke up. "Are you experiencing some kind of succubus instinct?" I nearly choked on my water, my face flushing bright red instantly. What nonsense are you talking about?" Ignoring my protest, he continued looking at me and said, "I've looked up some information about succubi. It says that when the time comes, they need to feed on life essence." "Shut up." Furious, I slammed the glass down on the coffee table, spilling water everywhere. "Jiang Chen, you pervert. How could you look up something like that?" "I just want to help you," Jiang Chen said calmly. "I'm worried about you in this state. It's none of your business." I turned away, feeling both angry and flustered. What he said was true. The discomfort I had felt earlier did resemble the symptoms of succubus needing to feed on life essence. But to actually feed on a man's life essence, especially Jiang Chen's, I'd rather die. Jiang Chen didn't press me further. He quietly cleaned up the spilled water, re-wet the towel, and placed it back on my forehead. "If it gets too unbearable, just tell me," he said. "Don't force yourself to endure it." I didn't respond, but my mind was in chaos. He sat beside me, the scent of cedarwood drifting from him, tempting me. I could even feel his breath and the warmth radiating from his body. That restless, feverish sensation began to stir within me again. I bit my lip hard to stop myself from doing something reckless. After about an hour, the discomfort finally began to fade. I let out a sigh of relief and slumped back on the sofa. Seeing that I was feeling better, Jiang Chun stood up and said, "I'll head back now. Get some rest." I nodded, too exhausted to even say goodbye. As he reached the door, he suddenly paused and glanced back at me. "Lin Hao," he said, "don't be afraid. I'm here for you." His gaze was earnest, as if making a promise. My heart stirred as I watched his retreating figure disappear through the doorway, and I suddenly felt a strange, indescribable emotion. From that day on, Jiang Chun started visiting my home more and more frequently. Sometimes he would come after work, bringing me something to eat. Other times, he would visit on weekends, watching movies with me or just chatting. It was as if he had completely forgotten that we used to be rivals. He treated me with a kindness I never expected, and without even realizing it, I grew accustomed to his presence. There were even times when he didn't come, and I would feel a sense of emptiness. Of course, I would never admit it. Our relationship grew increasingly Weimao. The way he looked at me became more and more unusual, always carrying an emotion I couldn't quite decipher, something like desire, yet also restraint. And I became more and more easily affected by him. Whenever he got close, my heart would race, my cheeks would flush, and the sweet scent on me would grow stronger. He helped me get the book from the top of the bookshelf, leaning incredibly close to me as he bent over. I could even feel his hair brushing against my cheek. In that moment, my mind went blank, and all I wanted to do was stand on my tiptoes and kiss him. Fortunately, I came to my senses in time and shoved them away abruptly, stopping myself from doing something I would regret. Pushed by me, Jiang Chun froze for a second, then a hint of a smile flashed in his eyes. "What's wrong?" he asked, feigning innocence. "No, nothing," I stammered, turning my head away as my face flushed and my heart pounded. This succubus body is an absolute menace. That night, Jiang Chun came to bring me food again. He brought my favorite crayfish, already peeled and arranged on a plate. Looking at the bright red crayfish on the plate, my mouth started to water. "Hurry up and eat. It won't taste as good when it's cold," Jiang Chun said with a smile. I didn't stand on ceremony and picked up my chopsticks to start eating. The crayfish tasted wonderful, spicy, and very appetizing. Jiang Chun just sat next to me, watching me eat without taking a single bite himself. "Why aren't you eating?" I asked, my mouth full of food. "I'm not hungry," he said, his gaze lingering on my lips for a few seconds before shifting away. His stare made me a little uncomfortable, and I quickened my pace of eating. Halfway through the meal, I suddenly felt a bit thirsty and wanted to get a glass of water. Just as I stood up, my vision went black, and my body uncontrollably slumped to the side. Jiang Chen's quick reflexes caught me. "What's wrong?" There was a hint of nervousness in his voice. "I don't know. A little dizzy." I leaned against his chest, feeling weak all over. The sweet scent on my body began to grow stronger again, this time more intense than ever before. Jiang Chen's arms around me tightened noticeably, and his breathing grew heavy. "Lin Hao." His voice was low and hoarse, tinged with a suppressed desire. I could feel his heart pounding fast, just like mine. I think I'm starting to feel unwell again," I mumbled dazedly, subconsciously shrinking further into his embrace. This time, he didn't push me away. Jiang Chen's embrace was warm, carrying his unique scent of cedarwood. It was like a soothing balm, easing the feverish heat in my body considerably. Subconsciously, I lifted my head and met his deep, intense eyes. Swirling within them were emotions I couldn't comprehend: desire, struggle, and a barely perceptible trace of tenderness. Before I could react, his lips descended upon mine. It was light, a bit tentative. My whole body stiffened. My mind went completely blank. This was the first time I had kissed someone after becoming a woman, and it was with Jiang Chun, my sworn enemy. But strangely, I didn't push him away. Instead, I found that this kiss didn't seem so bad. It was even a little pleasant. Seeing that I wasn't resisting, Jiang Chun kissed me more deeply. His hand gently stroked my hair, a tenderness unlike him. The sweet fragrance on his body grew stronger, and I felt my consciousness blurring, leaving only a primal desire. I reached out and wrapped my arms tightly around his neck, responding to his kiss. What happened next was like a runaway train, hurtling towards an unknown destination. We tumbled onto the sofa, our clothes coming off piece by piece. I was like a fish out of water, able to do nothing but cling to him. He whispered my name in my ear, his voice hoarse and thrilling. Lin Hao. I responded in a daze. The burning heat finally found an outlet, slowly dissipating and replaced by a comfort I had never felt before. It was as if every pore in my body had opened, a tingling numbness that made me crave more. The next morning, I was awakened by the sun. Opening my eyes, I saw Jiang Chen's sleeping face. His eyelashes were long, his skin fair. In sleep, he lacked his usual sharpness and had a bit more softness. I was stunned for a few seconds before I remembered what happened last night. My face flushed red with a whoosh. I actually, with Jiang Chen, did that kind of thing. I quickly threw off the covers, wanting to get out of bed, only to find my whole body was sore, especially a certain place, which had an indescribable feeling. My movements woke Jiang Chen. He opened his eyes, his gaze still a little hazy. Seeing me, red-faced and trying to get out of bed, he reached out and pulled me back into his arms. Awake. His voice was raspy from sleep, and it sounded a little nice. Let go of me. I struggled, not daring to look at him. Don't move. Jiang Chen held me tighter. Let's sleep a little longer. Who wants to sleep with you? I said angrily, but there was no real conviction in my heart. Last night felt too good. So good that it was a little addicting. The moment that thought emerged, I quickly suppressed it. Lin Hao, get a grip. He's Jiang Chen. From that day on, everything changed. I found myself increasingly unable to be without Jiang Chen. Whenever he wasn't by my side, I would feel a sense of unease all over, an emptiness in my heart. This was especially true at night. When the episodes occurred, only he could bring me comfort. I began to cling to him every night, refusing to let him leave. Jiang Chen never said no, staying to keep me company at my home each evening. The look in his eyes grew tender, yet also more possessive. Sometimes, if I merely exchanged a few extra words with the security guard downstairs, he would return with a darkened face and ignore me for half the day. I knew this was wrong. We had been sworn enemies, but I couldn't control myself. It was as if the instincts of a succubus had fully awakened, creating in me a powerful dependence on him. I even had the feeling of submitting to him as my master. Days passed one by one. The woman in the mirror had delicate features and a fiery figure, with not a trace of Lin Hao to be found. I knew that Lin Hao was dead. The one living now was a brand new me, a female succubus. I told Jiang Chen that I wanted to change my name. He was taken aback for a moment, then asked me, "What do you want to change it to?" "Lin Yu." I said, "You as in the moon." I thought in the days to come, I want to be like the moon, forever revolving around him, my son. Jiang Chen smiled, reaching out to stroke my head. "All right, from now on, you'll be Lin Yu." After changing my name, my life seemed to completely get on the right track. Jiang Chen moved in with me. We were like any ordinary couple, going to work together, getting off work together, cooking together, and watching movies together. Neither of us ever brought up the past. It was as if we were always meant to be together. But this peaceful life didn't last long before it was shattered by an accident. My period this month was a few days late. I didn't think much of it at first, assuming it was due to my irregular schedule lately. But when it was almost half a month late and still hadn't come, a sense of panic grew in my heart. I secretly went to the pharmacy and bought a pregnancy test. Back home, I hid in the bathroom, my hands trembling. When I saw the 2 red lines appear on the test stick, I was completely stunned. I was pregnant. A succubus, who used to be a man, was pregnant, and the child was Jiang Chen's. How was this possible? I walked out of the bathroom in a daze, holding the pregnancy test. Jiang Chen was cooking in the kitchen. Hearing the noise, he turned to look at me. "What's wrong? You look awful." He walked over, reaching out to touch my forehead. I flinched away instinctively and held the pregnancy test out to him. "Jiang Chen," my voice trembled a little. "Look." Puzzled, Jiang Chen took the test. He froze when he saw the 2 red lines on it. His eyes widened. as if he couldn't believe what he was seeing. This is 2 lines, I said, trying my best to keep my voice calm. I'm pregnant. Jiang Chun fell silent, his brows knitted tightly together, his thoughts unreadable. Seeing him like this, a sudden fear crept into my heart. Does he not want this child? Then again, who would want a child born of a succubus? And besides, I used to be a man. Just as my mind was wandering, Jiang Chun suddenly pulled me into a tight hug, as if trying to merge me into his very bones. Linyu. His voice was a little choked. This is wonderful. I froze for a moment. You don't find this strange? Strange? What's strange? Jiang Chun let go of me, his eyes sparkling as he looked at me, filled with joy. This is our child. I couldn't be happier. But I was still a little hesitant. I used to be. So what? Jiang Chun cut me off, his gaze serious. In my heart, you were never some Lin Hao. You are Linyu, my woman. His words were like a warm current that instantly flowed through my entire body. I looked at him, and suddenly my nose tingled, tears nearly falling. Then I sniffled. You have to be responsible for me. Jiang Chun smiled and reached out to wipe away the tear at the corner of my eye. Okay, I'll be responsible. I want you to marry me, I said. Okay, I'll marry you. I want you to be good to me for a lifetime. Okay, I'll be good to you for a lifetime. His voice was gentle, his gaze earnest, as if making a promise to me for all of eternity.